Hello, good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. My name is Justin Akadonye.
And as usual, he's with Uche Onyekuluji. And of course, like you rightly said here, we have a guest in the studio, someone who's been regular on the show, in person of Joe Mwokedi. By the course of the program, we'll be reaching out to our outstations in Ibadan as well as in Abuja. And of course, you can also send SMS to the number that'll be written on the screen. And do not forget to also follow us on our social media handle using hashtag Galaxy Today. But in the meantime, we'll be looking at what PNB is all bothered about, saying that they will not sacrifice national security for rule of law. Justin, you want to say something about that?
Yes, President Muhammad Buhari says his administration will not sacrifice issues of national security for the rule of law. The president said this while delivering an address at the opening of the 2018 Annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association in Abuja. He said the right of those who threaten national security does not take priority in place of the greater good of the society. He went on to say that the rule of law must be subject to supremacy of the nation's security and national interest. Where do we draw the line in all of this? We'll be looking at that today, and if we have time, we might just talk a bit about INEC's, a supplementary budget that was cut short just yesterday as it was passed by the National Assembly. We have Barrister Joe Nwokedi with us here in Lagos studio. Many thanks for joining us, Barrister Joe Nwokedi. Listening to what the President has said, if one were not to misconstrue, are we saying that national security far surprises issues of the rule of law?
I believe the President erred, and I blame the people that drafted that speech for him. Because it's supposed to be vetted, it's supposed to be scrutinized, it's supposed to be analyzed before going public. Because supremacy of the Constitution is derived from the supremacy of the rule of law. So when you say you are placing something above rule of law, you are placing that in above the Constitution. So that means you are suspending the Constitution. Because Constitution contains everything that has to do with how a government will administer all the powers granted to that government within the confines of the law. So, and that is what is called rule of law. That everything should be done in accordance with the law, in line with what the law says. That same law is what provides for National Assembly, the legislative arm of the government, the executive, and the judiciary, and apportion powers to each arm of the government, scope of authorities, and then responsibilities. And then, so when you now say that something is above it, that means you are now relegating that law. You are now relegating the Constitution to the back door. You are suspending the Constitution. The President, by his speech, has already suspended the Constitution. He has suspended the Constitution. Because when you say that something is above rule of law, that is an outright suspension of the Constitution. And we have only witnessed that during the military. So because even the national security is contained in the Constitution and is to be applied through the process provided by in the Constitution and the law. And that's what is called rule of law. That's what they said, nobody is above the law. That's what gave the President the immunity he has. That immunity is derived from rule of law. The power he has to control the executive, to control the paramilitary, the agencies, everything that says go and they will go, is because he derived that power from the Constitution. Yeah. The law says he should do that. If not, he may tell the chief of army staff, go and do this. Man will say, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You don't have any right to say that. What will happen? Is that law that the president is now questioning? If there is national security, which usually in every nation, in every country, such issue might arise, you must tackle it through the provisions in the Constitution. Because the Constitution is an embodiment of every aspect, every facet of what a society should be. And then it brought everybody to be in conformity with the provisions of that. That's why I said this Constitution is supreme. And any other law which is inconsistent, including the pronouncement of the president, any other law which is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution shall, to the extent of its inconsistency. He didn't say the president has the right to say something that will be inconsistent with the Constitution and to stand. He didn't say the governor has the right
to do say something that's inconsistent with the constitution, it will stand. He didn't even give National Assembly the powers to say something inconsistent with the constitution, it will stand. He said this constitution is supreme. And that constitution is what is known as rule of law. It cannot be above the law. That's why court will say, release this man, you release him. You don't release him because the judge or the whatever has the power to fight you, justice has the power to fight you. But because there is a rule, there is a procedure that gives them that power that once they pronounce, until another court overrules that pronouncement, you must abide by what
Okay,
what they have said.
if I could pick from what you earlier said, does it mean that, or it also means that the rule of law actually controls national security?
Yes.
Yeah, so if what we're facing now when it comes to insecurity in Nigeria almost feels like the security is so threatened that it feels like it's living or going against the law, and it feels like it's something they cannot combat. But the statement that the president made, is there anywhere in the Constitution where these can fit in as well?
No, the Constitution, like you said, has made a provision for everything. Even if you want to combat national security, that's why you have apparatus, you have the military. He has the powers under the law to deploy the military. He's the commander-in-chief, mind you, commander-in-chief of armed forces of the federation. Both the police, both the navy, both everything. So if there's any insecurity, he can deploy them. And deploying the military must also go through the rule of law. If it's something that should be cleared by the Senate, you go to the Senate. Senate will give approval before you deploy them. It has to do with emergency. You call for emergency situation, and they look into it. That's why there is that rule. If not, the president may not even like a state and deploy soldiers there to go and wipe them out.
Okay,
So everything must be fought.
Or would you say that the president misconstrued what he wanted to say? Was he specifically trying to talk about the rights of citizens? Because he went on to say, let me quote him, he says, our apex court has had the cause to adopt a position on this issue in this regard, and it is now a matter of judicial recognition that where national security and public interest are threatened, or there is a likelihood of their being threatened, the individual rights of those allegedly responsible must take second place in favor of the greater good of the society.
That was Justice Mahmoud that said that.
Okay.
And that was said in the case of Asari Dokubo versus Federal Government of Nigeria. And what happened there? It was the court that made that pronouncement.
Okay.
And court made that pronouncement in their own wisdom because they have the discretion, which was even provided by the rule of law. God has the powers to decide not to grant you bail, and they can cite their reasons. If your offense is not bailable, and they discover that if they grant you bail, it is going to cause problems, it's going to cause crisis, it's going to breach national peace or security. Court in their wisdom may decide not to grant you bail, and they have not breached any law. So when in that case, they were, as Sarido Kubo made so many statements, careless statements in the papers, going to bring down federal government of Nigeria, is going to make government Nigeria this or that, and his bail was sought. It was not granted, and the matter was dragged from appellate to the apex court, Supreme Court. And Supreme Court said, considering the facts of the case and the threats expressed by Asari Dokubo in one of the newspapers, that they cannot grant him bail. They cannot grant him bail, which they have the powers to do. So they did not say that the president can now override the powers of the courts, override the powers of National Assembly, override the powers of other arms of the government. Because it's not the president that will interpret when something is against the security of the nation. It's left for the court. Court is the body reposed with the powers to interpret the law. So if court says in your own case, based on the facts of this matter, based on what is brought before us, we are not going to grant this man bail. Court has not erred. But where we have issue now is that in the present situation we're having in Nigeria, court has ordered for bail. They've granted bail. They've given order that people should be released on bail. Someone like Dasuki should be released on bail. Someone like Azaki should be released on bail and 50 million paid. And the presidency refused. That is outright rejection of what court has said, which is operating within the confines of the law, under rule of law. And once court makes a pronouncement, whether it is comfortable or not comfortable for the president or whoever that is concerned, as far as that statement emanates from the court, you must obey it. All you need to do is appeal. If it's not the apex court, you can appeal to the appellate court to reverse it. Where they say no, you can go to Supreme Court. If Supreme Court says no, then you go home. You cannot appeal to God. You can appeal to God in your prayers, but not in judicial issues.
All right, let us see if Comrade Abiodu Bamigboye shares this particular opinion of a barrister Nwokedi. He's the leader, Joint Action Front. He joined us live from our studios from Ibadan. Many thanks for joining us, Comrade Bamigboye. You have been following our discussion so far. Going by what the President said yesterday, are you in agreement with him?
Well, good morning, listeners and the barrister in the studio. I think the barrister has been able to give us a full explanation of what rule of law is meant to be. And first, I would like to say that any national interest or security interest of any country that is not rooted within the ambit of law, it is nothing but a direction of moving, it's a step towards moving in a direction of totalitarianism, which to me is not something that is too befitting for our democratic process. Having realized how Nigerians, fought for this democratic process we are currently enjoying. However, when you now look at the way and manner, what we know as civil rule of law today is being used, and it has been used before now, somehow one can be tempted to agree with the president that unless and until this rule of law itself is suspended, our common, national interest may not be achieved. What do I mean by that? You recall that the balance rule of laws today became prominent in the national discourse in 2007. That was when, late President Yaradua became the president of this country. And if you look at the way and manner the rule of law were used during that regime up to this period, it is nothing but a way of reinforcing the reign of capitalist fraud, whereby the rich people and the politicians are always being protected, through this arrangement. You recall in 2007 when President Yaradua first claimed that he's committed to the rule of law. That was one of the instances where rule of law was used, was the case of one Chief Justice. What is his name? This man in Federal High Court, Calabar, John Ada, who was dismissed at that time because he was alleged receiving bribe in order to subvert the outcome of a election tribunal at that time. And this man went to court after the dismissal, not because he did not go to court to say he was not guilty of the offense he was alleged of, but he went to court that the process through which he was dismissed was not in conformity with the rule of law, and this man was returned. That was an instance. The second instance was during Obasanjo regime. As at of the time Obasanjo was going, you recall that about 31 governors out of the 36 were alleged of corruption cases by EFCC. But immediately Yaradua got there, in conformity with the so-called rule of law, 3 of these governors were only arrested and granted bail under the pretense of rule of law. So when you look at all these instances, one can be tempted to also agree with the Mr. President that if we continue to conduct ourselves, under the pretense of this kind of rule of law, we will never get our national interest done. But in a way, at the same time, when you look at the antecedents and the body language, especially the critical period we are, one cannot also endorse that pronouncement. For instance, the antecedent of President Buhari has clearly showed that what he's saying is not a rule of law that will advance our common interest or the national interest as he claimed. It's a rule, it's a attempt to have over-bloated power towards suppressing the voice of opposition, especially now that 2019 general election is approaching. You could see how obvious the rift and the conflict among the ruling class. If at this material point in time that kind of pronouncement is endorsed, it is dangerous for a democratic rule. And that is why we said, I return back to my opening statement, that any national interest that is not rooted within the ambit of the rule of law, it's a movement towards despotism and totalitarianism, and it must not be allowed to stay true by the mass of Nigerians. Having knew what we suffered before we can have the civil rule, which mostly mistaken to be democracy in Nigeria today.
Most people are saying, I don't know if you agree with the school of thought, which says that the president is just trying to, justify, the flagrant disobedience of court rulings over issues that have happened in the country so far, specifically that of the leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria and other cases. Do you agree with that thought?
Well, it appears so, but like I'm happy the lawyer is in the studio. All of how the national interest and the national security interest of a country can be protected and advanced, it is clearly stated in the Constitution. So therefore, to me, we don't need to subvert that if truly we want to, we want to advance the security interests of the nation. Where the rights for a peaceful assembly, to me, is one of the democratic rights that has been guaranteed in the Constitution of this country. And I don't think what the Islamic movement, especially the Shiites, has been doing in the northern part of the country has flouted that provision in the Constitution. You will find out that in most cases, it is not the peaceful movement of the people, of the gathering of the people, that always instigates the violence. But most of the time, the way and manner the security agents, particularly the police, often respond to those gatherings that always result into violence. And I think it is on that basis that I would still like to say that, for instance, like I said the other time, if, like I said, the rule of law has been a clog towards us advancing or achieving our national interest, to me, subverting that at this material point in time is not the best way to go. Rather, to follow a democratic process, to strengthen that rule of law towards making sure that our national interest Its guarantee is not by abolishing it completely, as what the statement made by the president itself implies.
Very big thank you to you. Very big thank you to Comrade Abiodun Bamigboye, the leader, Joint Action Front, who joined us from Ibadan in Oyo State. I was going to call you Comrade to Bryce. I don't know if you want to add to some of the issues that he raised there.
Yes, I want to respond to the issue that he raised. With respect to restatement of a judge. You know, it still borders to rule of law. When a rule of law is not observed, even when somebody is guilty, then that law must be enforced. I remember there was a place I gave talks. I told them the police can arrest anybody at any time once they have any reasonable suspicion of commission of offense. And they can't dispute that. But what they do in the course of that arrest, even if you are guilty of that offense, what they do in the course of the arrest, how they manhandle you, how they beat you up, can be challenged. Despite the fact you committed the offense. But the process of the arrest can be challenged. But the arrested you cannot challenge it. The reasonable suspected your action and invited you, you cannot challenge it. But the process of arrest, when you don't resist the arrest, beating you, beating up your other, what transpired one time, a lawyer was beaten. That beating of that lawyer can be challenged. But police coming to arrest that lawyer cannot be challenged. They have the right to arrest the lawyer. But beating and slapping the boy can be challenged. The boy might be guilty of that offense. So that is how rule of law operates. If somebody is to be served, just like when I treated termination and dismissal, there are grounds that will enable you to dismiss somebody in office. And there are grounds that will enable you to terminate somebody's job in the office. If you don't adhere to those principles, notwithstanding the fact as an employer, you have every right to terminate or to dismiss, the person will be resettled. Or you pay open amount of money as compensation. Despite the powers you have. So the rule of law is something that is before whatever you are doing. It's already placed ahead of us. So if somebody, if a judge was unlawfully removed, the judge might fight that unlawful removal, the process that led to it. Then that doesn't deprive you the right to still prosecute the judge for the alleged offense. You can still prosecute him for the alleged offense. So again, then what he talks about the suspension of rule of law in any aspect is totally against the law. You don't suspend the democracy cannot evolve if you don't follow rule of law. Whatever challenges you face in the course of prosecuting democratic project, you grow with it. All the civilized societies we rush to in England, in US, in Canada, or whatever, they grew up through a process. We respect them because they have a rule of law. We respect their system, we copy their own because they have a rule of law. They have all the powers, they use it in accordance with the law. So we have to evolve. Then what he mentioned about courts. Courts must not listen to the president. Courts must not dispense judgment by the way you like it. You are not, because even most of lawyers, we don't even determine the outcome of a case. And we don't even after the case has been, a judgment has been pronounced, we still stand up and thank the judge, even when it has gone against you. Because the man you say stand up, appreciate the judge for the judgment delivered. You might even tell the court, you might intend to appeal it. Court will even tell you, no problem, can go ahead and appeal it. You will even tell the court there. They will even tell you to go ahead and appeal it, and you thank the court. You can't start challenging it because what nonsense judgment do you give? It will have, there is a rule to challenge it, and the only remedy available to you is to go to court. So when the presidency will now start determining what a judge will now say, how a judge will give a judgment, when you suspect somebody of committing a crime, are you the one that will put that person committed the crime? Do you have the facts of the case? Do you have the ingredients of the case? Are you the one that will lead the person in evidence? Are you the one that will cross-examine? Do you know the demeanor of that person in the course of cross-examination? Do you know the testimonies given by that person? Do you know whether those testimonies are in line with Evidence Act? Do you know whether they conform with the administration of criminal justice? How can you, as an ordinary person there as a president, determine who is guilty? Are you the court? You are not groomed in that act. So whatever judgment that comes from the court should be taken as that judgment. It's not left for you to say, they were bribed, they have done this, they have done that, somebody has manipulated them. Because you don't know the ingredients that constitute a crime in a law court. Lawyers do. Even when judgment doesn't go in your own favor, you go home. Either you appeal, you keep on appealing until you get to apex court. And good enough, it's not the same set of people. When you get to appeal, you see a different set of people. When you go to Supreme Court, you see a different set of people. So if at the whole of this process, they say, look, what you are saying is not in line with the law, then you go home. So rule of law in any democratic setting cannot be tampered with, no matter however. The president must prosecute his either national security war, anti-corruption war, or whatever, fraud war or whatever, in line with the rule of law. Let the person be, okay, look at this issue of, for instance, issue of Dasuki now. Dasuki has not been charged to court. How do you know that he's guilty? How do you know how many prison times he will serve? How do you know how many years they will hand over to him? How do you know how many the discoveries the court will make in the course of his trial? How do you know that witnesses that might even implicate him? How do you know evidence you have to tender? You're not doing that. You're saying it's for national interest. What you're even doing is against national interest because you are depriving Nigerians of the opportunity to know what transpired in that senate.
Yes.
By the time the Dasuki is charged to court, how the apparatus of law will face him. And then we now, whether he can prove himself innocent as again guilty or whatever. Same thing as Zaki. So when you say you are detaining somebody or you want to act in line with rule of law, you are already doing the nation a great harm.
Can we take this from this argument of people's opinion about the president? A whole lot of people think he's been shrewd, or he still has a bit of the military thing in him. Looking at what he said, that anything when it comes to national security, the rule of law must take a backseat. The question is, if rule of law is to take a backseat as regarding national security, what then can tackle national security, if not the rule of law?
That's the issue now. Because if you're saying that people are viewing the president with somebody that has a military kind of background, he has. And he's there with him. He lived on his life in the military. He was never a businessman. He never worked in any parastatal. He never ran any company.
Do you think it's a projection of this?
There's no how cannot be there. That was even why we're now clamoring that a former military man will no longer rule Nigeria. Let us allow it grow with our democracy. Even if we are throttled, even if we are whatever, let us grow with that. With time, because if any issue arises, you know, like the person that spoke from Ibadan, you allow issues to come up in democracy, then you make out how to like resolve it. It's like a provision you amend the constitution to like take care of that issue. Like what happened when governor of the governor elect in Kogi State died. It has never happened. It happened, and then the law came in now to like take care of that situation. When Jonathan finished the tenure of Yar'Adua and then continued, I think law is coming up that if you finish the tenure of any person, you run with that person, don't contest with that. Just a point now. So this is how democracy evolves. You have to grow with that. You have to have errors and then you correct them. If our law is not adequate to combat corruption or any national issue we have, security we have, you change the laws. You go back and then come up with something that will suit the situation. When the laws were drafted, people that draft men then in the 60s or in the 70s never had the imagination of what today will be like.
So do you think that there should be some kind of amendment concerning the rule of law?
That's what in America. How many years are there laws? They kept on amending to suit the current prevailing situation. The president has a military mentality. What he should do is to call for amendment. That's where people are not saying that, look, there must be a rapport. You don't just see National Assembly as a rubber stamp. You don't see the judiciary as people you can invade, say you are doing sting operations. You don't do that. They have powers as well as you do. Or just though you are the president, commander-in-chief, they also have their own independent power given to them by the constitution. So when you this kind of issue, now call them, look at challenges we have. How do we come with reforms that will take care of this? Look at how this thing has been like acting as an impediment, as a hindrance towards actualization of my goal as a president. And God, they'll reason with you. Bible says, come, let us reason together. You reason together with them because all of you are pursuing one common interest on how to move the nation forward. And they'll go with you. But when they see it as you are trying to force them, you are trying to impose it on them, you are trying to ridicule them, you are trying to bulldoze them into submission, they will tell you no. And they to mess up your government, which is what you are seeing. Being a loggerhead with the judiciary, being a loggerhead with the National Assembly. And they've been going to NBA, the embodiment of lawyers, that you know that are product of rule of law, telling them now you can suspend that. What's an affront? Before NBA conference, gathering of all the lawyers in Nigeria, you in their face, you are telling them that the rule of law can be suspended. You
know, that's exactly where I'm going to, because I've seen that we've witnessed a whole lot, we've lost lives, we've witnessed damaged properties due to some level of insecurity, and it feels like the rule of law has been dormant. It feels like the law has not taken its course. And right now, all of a sudden, the president is coming up to say that the rule of law has to take the back seat when it comes to national security. And I'm wondering, where has it been when all this has been happening? Why hasn't the law taken its course? I mean, when Nigeria has been going through all these insecurities. So why is the president saying that it must take a backseat when some people already feel that the rule of law is taking already its backseat because he never acted when this insecurity?
You have mentioned he never acted. It's not the rule of law that never taken its rightful place in. So it's just the president that never wanted to enforce the law, or never enforce the law the way that make the law to become effective and efficacious. Because he has all the apparatus to enforce the law. He has the police to be used to enforce the law. He has the DSS, he has the army, he has the civil defense, he has all the apparatus of the government at his disposal to enforce the law. And he has the law courts, and he has Attorney General's office that can prosecute. He has an avalanche of lawyers under the Ministry of Justice. All these things have been provided, they have all been provided, and they're in place, waiting for him to act, for them to work. I mean, he should have acted. I remember when IGP of police was deployed to Benue State, he stopped at Nasarawa, and the president said he didn't know he didn't go to Benue. Is that rule of law that I didn't go to Benue? No, is it the rule of law that I didn't go there? When people started calling and having issues that deploy soldiers to so and so place, do this, has that been done? Had they done at that proper time? Have you gone to court now to even this Zaki? Has he been prosecuted and with the preponderance of evidence before the court now decided to overlook the evidence and then set him free? Has that been done?
All right.
No. So the rule of law has never taken his backseat. It's the enforceability. It's having the will to enforce
how
it.
to do.
You know, recently that 2 governors were jailed. Does it not about 5, some of them are 7 years cases in the court, from 10 years in the court? Did that make the matter not to come to an end? Were they set free by the courts?
Eventually did.
They were in jail. It's not, they did not follow the rule of law. Were they slapped? Were they beaten up? Were they bundled? Were they castrated unlawfully? Can the lawyers go and say now that they were not properly tried? They were tried. That is rule of law for you. You will still get that result.
All right, we'll come back to you, but let's also take the comment of Chris Mustafa Nwokobia, convener, Country First Movement. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. I want to get your reactions concerning this issue of sacrificing national security for the rule of law. What exactly are your thoughts?
Question for me? Hello?
You didn't hear me the first time. I want to get your thought specifically concerning this issue where the president talked about sacrificing national security for the rule of law just yesterday. Specifically, are you in agreement or do you have a differing notion on that?
I simply think that the statement of Mr. President was ill-advised. I think that it was a wrong shot. And to make matters worse, it was a shot fired at the wrong forum. The issues are simple. You don't go to an MBA conference to say that the law should take a second place where you have matters of national security and national interest. The first thing oftentimes is that in Nigeria we put politics before the nation, and that is why my movement, the Country First Movement, is talking about national interest essentially. And all over the world, the first thing you must know is that every country that works with some sense of decorum must put the law first. It's got to be country first. And the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria took an oath of office to defend the constitution of the country. Almost always, when we discuss issues of national interest, we must understand that the best of jurists talked about law being the essence of decorum. That it should with the law
It's still Galaxy today. We'll try and reconnect with Abuja in the course of the show, but we'll just take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The Joint Committee has sat and has deliberated the position to adopt the 143 billion as presented by Mr. President. And at this point in time, it is also the wish of this committee that INEC represent their budget of 143 as requested by Mr. President. So therefore, INEC has an opportunity to reprioritize, and this committee will be ready to receive their report.
All right, welcome back. We have a comment right now from one of our viewers. The president's remark on the rule of law and the national security is unfortunate. This is only trying to justify his flagrant disobedience for various court verdicts. Thank you. I am Abdul Ghani from Kano State. All right. We're still expecting your call, your messages rather. Send us an SMS if you want to comment on this particular issue. And of course, you can also interact with us on our social media platforms using the hashtag Galaxy Today. Barrister, let us also look at another issue that happened yesterday away from this issue of rule of law and national security. It was the issue of the INEC supplementary budget. It has been going on and without, from all reactions from different angles. Just yesterday, they finally approved the specific amount, raised by the presidency and not the INEC. What's your reaction concerning that?
The 143 billion.
Yes.
But they have the right to vet any budgets presented before them. That's why it's even presented in the first place. You don't just send a budget and expect National Assembly to rubber stamp it. That's the function of that organ. That's the place itself. So they have committees. So when you put up figures, when you attach figures to some projects, some programs, some events, they can vet them. They can look at them. They can check them vis-a-vis what they ought to be. And they can make comments. They can make changes. And they may say this thing is over-bloated. Bring it down. This one is not required. Remove it. You don't need this in this particular point in time. Let it be extracted. So they have the right to do that. They've not gone outside the powers conferred on them by the Constitution. But that 143 billion they approved. If in their wisdom that it is appropriate for INEC to flow with that, and they have approved it, INEC should go with that.
But in your opinion, what does all of this portend? INEC is quoting something very high. The president sent something a little lower, and now the National Assembly has approved what the president. Does it not tell that there might be issues with the 2019 elections?
In the first place, why should INEC and the presidency be having something at a crossroads? Who is the presidency? Who is INEC? INEC is a body established to take care of elections. Then why should the presidency present something on behalf of INEC? For me, if presidency should make any presentation, it has to go through INEC. They have to carry INEC along, because INEC are the people on the field. They are the ones that will execute the project. They are the ones that will know the manpower, the workforce, the logistics needed to prosecute the election. So they should be allowed to present the budget. But the presidency, in their own wisdom or lack of it also, decided to present their own budget before National Assembly on the same issue. National Assembly may decide to approve whichever one that goes well with them. But then whether it will affect 2019 election, I'm not INEC. I'm not INEC to answer that question. But for me, in my own opinion too, I faulted that amount of money presented by INEC. Because most of the people INEC people will be using are already
in employment. The NYSC they basically use are already paid by the federal government. The Nigerian police, they say they'll take care of, are already paid by the federal government. It's only minor things that makes just printing of ballot papers and those other things that they will do with their own funds. INEC staff that will do this job are already under the payroll by the federal government. So why do we spend billions this executing election? So I looked at that and said, why should we spend this? I know when I was serving, whenever they want cheap labor, they'll come to NYSC, say, please give us so and so, go and help us. They say, coppers, go. Because they're not going to pay us. Because we're already collecting money. The best they can do for us is to give us transport fare. And then we'll go there and do that job and come back. It was many of them, I did a lot. Because it is the cheapest labor you can afford, you can think of. The same thing with the police. They can deploy 100 policemen here. You just appreciate them if you like, because they're being paid by the Nigerian police force, and not you. So I don't know why INEC should be every year, this issue of a budget for election will be causing reports in the system. If they should go and do, after all, this government has always been drumming a change, a prudence in whatever, we should be prudent in our expenditure. We should trim down our bogus lifestyle, our ostentatious living should be cut down. So it should be also applicable to INEC. And they also cause their own problems.
How so?
Yes, because INEC should trim number of political parties. I have very recently this in 2011 when they came for my book launch at Museum Center, 2010. And I kept following them up. I've even called the former INEC chairman, Professor Henry Jega. I have his contact to talk. And he agreed that he would do something. Although he tried to remove about 45 parties there. But now this new INEC chairman registered more political parties, bringing it to 90-something, 91 or thereabouts, to go for election, to print ballot boxes. Did you do due diligence before approving them? Because the process of being registered as a political party in Nigeria is not, it's an onerous one. It's very, very tasking. It's not something that anybody can just gather and say, want to be a political party. You register them. Before they will have the branches in 36 states, functional office in 36 states, in Abuja, and numerical store and everything. It will be only few people that will meet that qualification. But look at the number of people that they've registered. So they are paying money for registration. They're paying almost 5 million.
So, in your opinion, there's no reason
why political parties are forming coalition. Why you have 45 political parties coming together. You have 20 political parties coming together to know whether they can have a big force. That has shown you that, look, they don't have the capacity to exist as a political party. Why proliferating them? Why having them everywhere? Although it is their right. I've said it even when there was an issue that came up, a national issue that came up, then I made my opinion. I said, look, in as much as we appreciate freedom of association, we should know that freedom of association does not extend to formation of political parties. Political party is different from association. You can form millions of associations you want. But having that association registered as a political party with the capacity to contest election, assume political office, and manage or administer our common welfare, our existence, it's a different thing. Society can be formed, groups can be formed at any level, but not political parties. They are a special brand of association, and they cannot just be registering them anyhow you like. And at the end of the day, now tell us you are printing 1 million ballot boxes. And some of them will start going to court. They didn't see their name, their logo on the ballot boxes. So they created that problem, and they should go and resolve it. We have a lot of things we are using money to do in Nigeria. We have a lot of sectors yearning for attention. We have a lot of roads, a lot of infrastructure. We have our youths are making cases here and there. You have UWIN and Empower, whatever. They've not given them money. We have a lot of youth residents. They push that money towards that direction. I'm not just election will be conducted within 2 or 3 days. Just to elect our leaders. It will cost not that huge amount of money.
All right, one more comment from one of our viewers. This one says, the statement that the former military man cannot rule is itself undemocratic and violates the rule of law. That was anonymous. You didn't say it well.
Say your name. I say we don't appreciate. I don't say they don't have the right to rule. Everybody that is a citizen of Nigeria that has all the qualifications under the constitution to contest an office, whether you have held office before or whether once you are permitted by the constitution and all the qualifications are like guaranteed, you contest election. But I'm just saying as an individual that we may not appreciate having former generals as our presidents. Let us groom, after how many years our democracy? So it's by 2019 to be 20 years. A 20-year-old child is no longer, by 21 they will even have the right to contest in elections. So we are growing democratically. And then some people like us, when democracy, when our university is there, and then we're also part of it. So let us start growing with people that are born, people that knew about democracy, people that have the mindset of democracy, people that read democracy, people that democracy became part of their growth, that mix and were molded in democracy. Let them take over leadership, so they will have the mindset. Me now, I'm a civilian, and they used to call us bloody civilian. There are things I will not do because I didn't grow up learning them. But if I'm like a military man, a policeman, I say, I'll shout on you, I will even slap you because that is my training. And you can't blame them for doing that. That is the environment that threw them up. That is the way they were trained. So when they come in the real life and they live like that, you don't blame them. So that's what I always tell people. There are certain things you don't blame on people. You have to like respect the growing age of people, where somebody grew up, and the kind of environment, the kind of things the person may be exposed to. So it will take gradual process for that person to be removed from those things. So military men, by their training, are to act by force. They consider it a very big challenge when they tell you to do something and you say you're not doing it. They can either use their boot to kick you or slap you. For them, it's an affront. You don't say no. Because in their own command system, you must obey. So, and that is the way they grew up. But in democracy, our own is that you must hear everybody. Everybody must say his or her opinion. People will come together and then reason. We form committees. Committee will suggest. Then the General House will ratify before it will be implemented. These are democratic system. So when you grew up in a group like this and you come out and then you see yourself in leadership, you have to follow it. That's what I'm saying.
All right, we must rest it at that. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you who have sent in messages concerning the issues we have discussed this morning, sacrificing national security for rule of law, and of course, we also talked about INEC's supplementary budget that was just passed yesterday. A very big thank you to Barrister John Nwokedi. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on these issues with us.
It's the duty we owe the society.
Thank you so much. And of course, a very big thanks to Comrade Abiodun Maligboye, leader Joint Action Front, all the way from Ibadan, as well as Chris Mustafa Nwokedi, a convener Country First Movement in Abuja. Unfortunately, we couldn't take you more than we did, but a big thanks to you. And for you who sat back to enjoy the program, let's do this tomorrow when we'll be talking health at 10 a.m. I'm Uche Onyekuluje. To have a wonderful Tuesday.
And I'm Justin Akademi. Many thanks for being a part of the show. Bye for now.
What would you rather be watching during your lunch